we are live.
I noticed you went live right after I took a drink and like dribbled all down my chin, so thank you for that. That's the look I wanted to start off with.
Somebody
everybody.
clip that.
I got a stroke or something.
So when you go to the doctor and they give you a Novocaine on one side of your mouth,
Oh yeah, that sucks.
right?
Yep.
What was wrong?
Hello, everybody.
Hello. Happy Wednesday.
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 Wednesday. NES Day. Happy NES Day to everybody.
That used to be a tradition on every Wednesday on Twitter for years.
It was a hashtag that went on and on.
I forgot about
everybody
that.
got bored of it.
Well, remember Foul Fridays?
Oh, yeah.
Tag everybody you knew.
No, it
some,
just
yeah.
No.
Don't even log on Fridays.
Let's clout chase.
Yep. The follow Fridays, these are the people, and if you mess with them, you're in a block party. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't care.
Oh, I know I know who you're talking about.
Oh, it's so fun to reminisce about Twitter.
It is.
All right. Welcome, everyone, to Gamers Week podcast. Like the name says, we analyze the best, worst, and weirdest headlines of the past week in the video game industry. This is episode 151, and today is Wednesday, February 5th, 2025. Thanks so much for tuning in, everyone. My name is Blue Williams, and I'll be your host for this evening. But as you can see, I am not alone. I do have two fine co-hosts with me. And please congratulate my co-hosts on the release of their new adult film. You can find this full-length masterpiece at any reputable online purveyor of the salacious arts. Just search for Ryan, aka Randy, the Spank Prince Sizzlehammer, and Donnie, aka Max, the Dongle Drinker Hardwood, in
What?
Starring in Bearded Cockle Muffins 4, Revenge of the Butt Brawler.
Oh my goodness. Dongle.
Thank you.
Are Brian and I in the same film?
Yes, you're co-stars in this movie. You headline it.
My name is Hammer something, so you can call me Jackhammer if you want to.
But
once I'm in there with some pressure.
You're feeling it? You're changed?
Exactly.
I'm the dongle drinker?
You earned that nickname,
No!
trust me. Don't
No!
be bashful. Live it up.
What? Wait a minute. How thick is the dongle?
Guess you have to watch.
Okay.
You have to watch Bearded Cockle Muffins 4, Revenge of the Butt
Bearded
Brawler, and find out.
Cockle muffins.
Gotta put that on a t-shirt.
All right, so in the chat, we've got Sam Disfaction saying 50 Shades of Aragorn, and then GoldenEye comes back with 50 cents of Aragorn. So.
And cents, SCENTS.
Yes. I like how we can't even get like 5 minutes into the show before we gotta mark the board again.
Sancy70's first time chat says dongle.
Dongle.
Dongle shots.
First time shot or first time chat, but clearly not their first time.
No.
Right. First time chatter, long time listener.
All right. All right, let's get the show started with our reviews, reactions, and requests. Go Hobo Go says, I've got a good one from the past that younger generations wouldn't understand, the Dewey Decimal System.
Which again reminded me of UHF, which was Conan the librarian.
The librarian. You didn't use the
Dewey Decimal System.
Just cuts him in half with a sword.
And also, they probably wouldn't understand that movie either.
Right.
Oh, God, no.
Right.
Not at all.
Yeah. Zach Huge Thanks says, A, I would be happy to nip RGB in the butt. B, where do I send my money for the Donnie nip slips? And C, I do not apologize for this nip-themed comment.
A, only if you buy me dinner first.
B, you know my PayPal information already.
And C, we do not need you to apologize. It made the show, sir. So clearly we appreciate it.
It's too late to apologize.
And last up from Bruno 007 2000 says, you have to have some of the best entertainment in podcasting I've heard. So my question is, why aren't you on YouTube? I don't have Spotify. I know that's a me problem. So it would make it easier for old timers who hate adding new apps like Spotify or TikTok to our ever growing lineup of must hear. Love your content. Be well. And I did email back Bruno and let him know that we do have a YouTube channel.
Yes, we do.
The audio versions of the podcast upload there automatically every Friday, correct?
Not automatically. I have to actually. So the odd part is they upload, but the upload is private. So that's a me thing, admittedly.
We got a lot of me things going on.
Yeah, I have to go in and make that change. So I do apologize. Sometimes they are late, but most of the time I try to remember.
Yeah. So if you don't like having new apps, head to YouTube and you can find us there.
Yeah, and also our the stuff that we record on Twitch, we also upload to YouTube as well. So you get the episode kind of like double. This one is the
when Donnie remembers.
I was sick last week. Okay, can you cut me a break?
That's a him problem.
That's a me problem.
We make sure we assign everybody their individual problems.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to our patron shout outs.
All right, well, we couldn't do what we do without the help of our gorgeous patrons. Here are the generous folks supporting Gamers Week on Patreon. The Pixelpon family, including Shannon and Luke, Zach, huge thanks, Puzzle Better, #1 Blue Six Voice fan, John Barron,
There you go.
Old habits die hard. Sassy Sony, Evo Lust, Rai's secret best friend, Mega Retroman, Gammatroid, More Deep, Michael LaKite. That kid is back on the escalator again. LaKite, sorry.
Love it.
Emo S, Bill Tucker, The Real Retro Game Gurus, Fruitcakes, Pickled Pepper, Ducks with Thick Thighs, absolutely the best podcast, a work in progress. Wizard of Zardoz, Bobson Dugna, Blue's Little Sis, Loudmouth, Retro Blast Pat, B&T Zillaguy, The Mad Milkman, Seven Castle Forest, Crunchy Kong, Sheriff Snacks, Frank Grande, Love Retro BTW, Steven San, Ramboski, Terry Kinnair, AJL 2020, Don't Make Me Pull This Car Over, Games of Coffee, Hybrid Divide, You Fall Before Me, and Davey PGH. So if you like what you hear today, we really hope you do. Please consider joining us on Patreon. Your support helps cover the cost of producing the show, as well as other cool stuff we'll be doing like prizes and giveaways. And you'll gain access to our bi-weekly patron-only bonus cast called Gamers Week Uncut. Patrons with benefits. Visit patreon.com/gamersweek or follow the link in the show notes to learn more.
I almost think we need a separate whiteboard. It has been, and count the number of, like, it has been 12 episodes since Ryan said Terry Cannell. But maybe that'd be, we don't want whiteboard overkill.
I would say you would have like a collection in front of you, right? You're like, oh.
Right. All right, let's move on to the headlines.
Our headline segment is proudly sponsored by the Retro Game Club podcast. It's a fantastic, family-friendly retro gaming podcast. In each episode, Rob picks 2 games to play and discuss, as well as news, interviews, and other topics. Right now, they're doing their long-awaited Ask Me Anything episode. Send your questions to email at retrogameclub.net or follow the link in the show notes.
I think I would like to know, because they've been at this for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I would like to know the secret of their longevity. And if they want to talk about podcasting too, that's cool.
I mean, it's a retro game club, so they play games every single month, correct? I guess, like, what's the highlight and what's the one that was a mistake is what I would ask. I think I'd like to know, like, the peaks and the valleys of this experience.
Mm-hmm.
No questions, Donnie?
I had something, and then I'm formulating something in my mind, and then I'm listening to both of you, and all of a sudden it's like, nope, see ya, I'm gone.
We forget with Donnie, he can only fit one thing in there at a time. So
I am not multifaceted. How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood could chuck? Never mind. That's just Screwed it up. Sorry, Rob.
That's why they call it a tongue twister.
I had one shot, one opportunity, and I let it slip.
All right, let's move on to the headlines. So, Multiverses, the Warner Brothers IP platform provider from Player First Games, is coming to an end on May 30th. On Friday, Player First revealed the game would receive its fifth and final season this Tuesday, February 4th. The season will last until the end of May, after which Multiverses gets delisted and its online functions rendered inert. After that date, players can download the game and access its offline functions for the foreseeable future. Offline functions for the foreseeable future. Multiverses initially hit with its open beta back in 2022, which lasted for nearly a full year before Player First took it offline to complete development. The game came back with a vengeance in 2024 with a new look and more characters, but players had issues with its grind and monetization, plus changes made from the beta till full release. This is the second of two live service games from WB to stumble this year, following on from Rocksteady's Suicide Squad going out with a muted bang back in January. With Multiverses going away, it's unclear what this means for Player First. WB acquired the studio last year after the game's relaunch, and this has been its sole credit.
Pour one out for live service games again. Right? Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, pour it out into the
Yeah.
mouth.
Yep.
So I can tell you what's next for them. Maybe work on something different. Instead of shuttering the studio,
Mhm.
have something else. You know, these studios that get purchased, excuse me, these studios that get purchased, they should have several different things in the pot, right? Several different ideas stirring around, taking form, having brainstorming meetings and stuff like that. And then, oh, hey, like this one has got some legs. We can flesh it out a little bit more. And now let's put some like really more thought into it, more work into it. And there you go. You have another game that you can bring out within a couple of years. So just because this game failed and this live service game is going away, it doesn't mean you should really shutter down the studio. See if they can't come up with another game.
Yeah. Do you think that's the lesson that WB is going to pull away from this?
Doubtful.
No.
Yeah, they have taken essentially they have taken their probably their strongest IPs between Suicide Squad and then just every IP that they could throw into multiverses, and they've given it their best shot and everything failed. And do you think they're going to realize why they failed? Because of crappy live service mechanics, or do you think they're just going to go, well, video games aren't for us, just close everything and let's go somewhere else?
I mean, in the future, right? You know, Warner Brothers is something that I mean, I doubt this is the last time we'll see something from Warner Brothers. Is what I'm saying. Is I
Their IPs are too valuable for that.
Yeah.
right. So yeah, it's one developer that's not going to be in the mix anymore, right? Um, but you're right. I think that does certainly put Warner Brothers in particular in a position where they're going to question it. It's kind of like how every studio saw the Mario Brothers movie from the 90s and was like, I don't know about this. So I mean, it took years for them to put some legitimacy into video game movies. And I mean, if we
Mhm.
were just talking about this last week when it comes to Resident Evil, even that movie itself didn't really follow the plot very much, right? It
Right.
was a good zombie movie. That was the point, is that it was not necessarily a faithful adaptation of Resident Evil. They would much rather create their own movie just using the name as an IP. But this is the same deal. You know, Warner Brothers more than likely is going to. It's going to be a while, is what I'm saying, before we see something big potentially coming from them. And I don't want that, to be honest with you. But it's that live service games piece. Everybody is jumping off that ship, right?
Right. I mean, because I never played it, and I don't think you guys did.
Never even heard of it.
So I looked up essentially I went on Google and said, what's wrong with multiverses? Why don't people like it? And I came across something from Digital Trends, and it says the presentation of the game feels pulled straight out of Fortnite. The overwhelming numbers of purchasable items, currencies, and well-known IP thrust in front of my face is a constant reminder that WB's corporate overlords are looming over multiverses and hoping it's a financial success.
Mhm.
I was the reviewer says, I was granted access to everything in this pre-launch build for free too. So I imagine I'll feel that even more once this stuff is actually locked behind paywalls.
That's a good point too. It sounds to me like this was not about celebrating their IP,
Mm-mm.
um,
Nor
just
about trying to make actually a good game.
right.
And once again, like we've talked about before with these live service games, they are trying to reverse engineer a money making
Mhm.
machine. And you just can't do that. If you don't start with a good concept and a fun game, nobody's going to give you anything. Although I have seen some people online being upset because they ponied up for the $100 like founders edition of Multiversus, and now
Oh,
6 months
so
later,
sad.
I know.
So I'm looking at this game, and it looks exactly like Super Smash Brothers, only with all of Warner Brothers intellectual
That's
property.
essentially what people are saying. It's a shitty version of Smash Brothers where
Right.
everything's behind a paywall.
And I think they banked on the fact is that they have so many different characters from so many
Mhm.
different realms that they can throw in, and the people's desire to have battles between somebody like Marvin the Martian and Beetlejuice, like have all of the battles that your imagination could desire. And okay, I mean,
I mean,
I
apparently Jason Voorhees is in the game, Donnie.
I don't see how he's not a Warner Brothers owned character. He's owned specifically by the likeness of Jason Voorhees is owned by Sean Cunningham, I think.
I'm just
So
saying. I saw people were playing with him.
I
Does he like gruesomely murder other people? Because if he's not gruesomely murdering other people, that's not my Jason Voorhees.
exactly. There's no way. There's no way. That reminds me of the DC universe versus Mortal Kombat. Whenever they would not have the fatality shown, of like the Joker shooting Superman, because like, oh, we can't have Superman showing being dead to everybody. Yada yada. Like, give me a break. If you're not going to do it to the full Mortal Kombat experience, then don't even put it out.
End rant.
Exactly.
It's like nobody asked for this. I think. Well, I say nobody, but I would think most people. Uh, because I mean they've come out with a bunch of games that try to emulate Mario Kart as well, that
Yeah.
include IPs from other places. And that really hasn't worked. I think the only
No.
one that I can think of was when Mario Kart 64 was out and Diddy Kong Racing came out, and that was decent. That wasn't bad. That
Still
was
Nintendo though.
right. It's still under that Nintendo umbrella, and we know that they certainly take care of IPs typically well.
Hmm. I mean, yeah. I mean, back in the heydays of the kart racers of the '90s, like
Hmm.
Crash Bandicoot had one, and
Hmm.
there's several Sonic ones, but nothing has ever really touched what Mario Kart does.
Yeah, they got a Nintendo one that came out for or no, sorry, a Nickelodeon one that came out for the Switch.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah.
I reviewed that one, and it's one of the reasons I don't review games anymore.
One Up John says.
Nickelodeon broke ya.
One Up John says Garfield Kart is pretty cool.
I have Garfield Kart.
Oh, really?
Yep.
That's an actual
got it.
game?
Yeah, I have it on 3DS, I think.
Do you play it regularly?
I played it once.
So
I mean,
that's a
I bought it
no.
as a joke because I was like, this is going to be terrible. I'm just going to at least see if it's fun terrible. But it was just kind of blah terrible.
So, like, you've got Garfield, Nermal, John, Odie, and that's all the characters that I think I remember from Garfield.
There's Arlene, the girl cat.
Ah, okay. So five playable characters that you can race around and get lasagna and coffee. Woohoo!
Should be able to play as Bill Murray as well.
Oh, God.
Fun fact. Okay, so the guy who plays Dr. Venkman in the real Ghostbusters, the voiceover guy, right? He was also the original voice of Garfield.
No way.
And so if you think about it, Bill Murray, who was originally Dr. Venkman, played Garfield in the
Yeah.
movie. Think about that.
Whoa.
That's crazy.
Meta, dude.
You're like blowing my mind right now.
Golden Eye coming in with Lorenzo Music. That's right. That's that guy's name. I remember because I watched that Garfield cartoon all the time.
Why I know
Why
that?
I know
Don't
that?
ask.
Don't ask.
And Webhead says there's also a Heathcliff kart racer on
Oh,
the
Is there
Wii.
God.
really?
No.
Wow. I thought about Heathcliff in a
Heathcliff
hot
in a
minute.
yeah. Can't remember the last time I thought about Heathcliff. All right, next up, Meta Chief Technology Officer Andrew Bosworth said in an internal memo shared with Business Insider that the company's Reality Labs division needs to turn things around in a big way in 2025, or else its whole venture into mixed and virtual reality could go down as a legendary misadventure. Reality Labs has sunk tens of billions of dollars into VR development, but the technology has never broken through to the next big thing status as once predicted. The division suffered nearly $50 billion in losses over 2020 through 2024, and the news has not gotten any better since. In its fourth quarter earnings report released last week, Meta said Reality Labs recorded yet another operating loss of $5 billion. Meta has access to virtually unlimited resources, but even it can't keep taking those kinds of body shots forever, a point Bosworth made in his memo. If you don't feel the weight of history on you, then you aren't paying attention. This year likely determines whether this entire effort will go down as the work of visionaries or a legendary misadventure.
Can I just start off by saying that if you're not a professional athlete, you shouldn't have a nickname
Like
in
the
the middle of your
boss.
like Andrew Bosworth, you know? Just
Ah,
gonna
but he's
throw
one
that
of those cool guys.
in. Right, like, hey
He
guys, it's just the boss.
yeah,
Hey.
Hey,
he gave himself that nickname.
probably one of those cool suits who just wants to be one of the regular guys at the water cooler, and everybody hates his fucking guts.
Everybody calls me boss. Like, really? All right.
Everyone tell you leaves and goes, no, nobody calls me
No, I do like how they keep saying it will be a if it all goes wrong this year, it will be chalked up to a legendary misadventure. Like that's something a bunch of cartoon characters go on in a feature length movie that Disney puts out. A legendary misadventure. That's not what you call a technological project that cost a company $55 billion so far.
So this is the same Reality Labs that has been working on the next like Oasis space or whatever or what have you that released it,
Metaverse.
and it
You know,
looked
they don't say metaverse in here at all because that's nothing but a joke.
right. So this was supposed to be the Oasis thing that ended up looking like it was on a PS2 when they released it. So
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I've got zero sent what's the word I'm looking for? Sympathy. Zero sympathy for the amount of money that Meta or Facebook or whatever they want to call themselves. I don't give a shit. No sympathy whatsoever. You can lose another 20 billion and I'll be perfectly happy because your product is crap.
It's insane to me that you can lose $50 billion on a venture and still be financially viable.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
nuts.
Like, I would say 99% of companies, if they lost $50 billion over 5 years, 4 years, sorry, 4 years, $50 billion, uh, not a scratch of equity would they have left in a business. It's just, that would be a catastrophic disaster.
Right. And
Yeah.
most reasonable companies would say, no more. Like
Right,
after the
like,
first year, they'd be like, no, we're not doing this anymore.
he's already dead. Stop hitting him. But yeah, that's an example of somebody just having way too much money to do something.
Right.
Right. Like, I'm all about innovation. I'm all about the fact that we're pushing the envelope here. But I think that this was just someone's idea and they just weren't willing to give it up. Um, and
Y-
it hasn't caught on because, for one, when they first came out with it, I think that there was a barrier to entry from a cost perspective. And now that the Oculus Rift and all that stuff, when they purchased that and that those prices have gone down a bit, uh, but nobody's using it particularly for any like killer application right now, from all I can tell. Yeah, it's
Right.
got a bunch of games on it that you can play, but nobody's going, oh man, have you played this one? Right. And
Right.
I'm sure some people bought it for one specific game or whatever, like it was Beat Saber. I just really wanted to play Beat Saber.
Right.
But it's not a phenomenon. They had to have found something that would make everyday people go, I need one of those. I definitely need one of those.
And that's where the whole like the Oasis mindset comes into
Mhm.
play. If I'm able to put on my headset, right, and get into a social hub where everybody's there, right? I can make, talk to people, have not not in the way that I have relationships with like you guys online or other people on Twitter and Discord and stuff like that, where you just type at them. If I get to see a visual representation of you or your
Mhm.
avatar or whatever and interact with you in some way and do something in there, like such as drive a car or go skydiving or fire or fly a B-52 bomber and drop bombs or something like, sure, that would catch on like hotcakes and people would want to be there constantly.
Mhm.
What we have now is buy this game, have this solitary experience, or you could play multiplayer games with other people online, but it's not the true identity of what the Oasis was in the movie Ready Player One. And I don't mean to be comparable to what our VR is going to be to the
Right.
Oasis. It's just that's a hell of an idea.
Well, right now it's a gimmick, right?
Of course.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's just a gimmick. It's a MacGuffin you put on your face, and then at the end of the day, it's just it. And you know what? There's still that stigma that it makes you sick. So there are
Yes, same
plenty of
here.
people who will never buy it because you're going to get motion
Yeah.
sickness.
If I recall the number, it was 40% of people.
Hmm.
So that's a huge percentage of your audience or who is just never going to buy your product ever.
Hmm.
And what's perhaps even worse is they've never come out with any product associated with it that has made me wish that I didn't have that. And
Right.
be like, you know what? Fuck it, I'm gonna buy it anyway, and we're just gonna power through and get over this.
Right.
Beat Saber sounds cool, but that's the coolest sounding thing that they have.
Mhm.
So
And
it's
I'm
not
sure you
that
can get some mileage out of Beat Saber, but I'll be honest with you, I'm not pouring 200 hours into that game.
no, and
If you really like
sorry,
beating your saber, you will.
I'm
It's
I'm
funny,
sure both of you have far more than 200 hours on that.
definitely.
I've never played Beat Saber at all.
She meant beating your saber,
I've
not
never
Beat Saber.
played.
Doubt. Press X for doubt. Gaming and Gain says the Boz versus a motorcycle gang.
Coming this summer. Andrew the Bosworth goes on another wacky misadventure.
Yeah, and Sam Disfaction says I don't need VR for Beat Saber.
And what he was referring to as far as the Boz facing off against a motorcycle gang, that was a movie called Stone Cold with Brian Bosworth back in the 90s.
Like the guy from football,
Yeah,
Boz.
Brian Bosworth, William Forsythe, and also Lance, dude from Aliens,
Lance Hendrickson.
Lance Hendrickson. Yep, there you go. Great movie.
Nice.
Thank you for the history lesson, Donnie.
You're welcome.
All right, Steam now warns you if that early access game you're eyeing up has been abandoned by its devs. Steam's early access program helps small to medium sized developers get an idea off the ground, but not every game actually does. Now, Valve has a notice designed to warn Steam users when they visit an early access game store page if it's been a hot minute since the last update. Specifically, this seems to get triggered by games that haven't received meaningful development updates during the prior 12 months. The warning is displayed under the early access game banner and reads, the last update made by the developers was over 13 months ago. The information and timeline described by the developers here may no longer be up to date. It's not a foolproof system, however. Steam doesn't recognize non game content updates, such as a video from the developer's YouTube channel, nor does it recognize patches made to an early access game's beta branch. It only appears to acknowledge content sent to the game's stable branch. This has led to many games that are indeed being worked on still being branded with the warning.
So, okay, I'm kind of confused with the wording here. Early access game, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you're able
Beta
to play,
testing.
yeah, beta testing, but it's going to tell you if they've made no updates to the stable environment in 12 months. So,
I mean, have you run into beta testing like that, like a game that is that far away from being good to
Well,
go?
I think it's more just like somebody put an early access game on there and then just decided not to finish it. I think that's
That's yeah, and which I love that the idea that you're warning somebody not to try something out and then having this expectation that eventually it's going to
yeah.
pan out for them. So I totally get that. My hope, though, it sounds like some games are still being worked on. I just find that timeline to be ridiculous. But
the
um,
13 randomly
yeah,
13 months.
well, but no, I find the timeline of not updating the stable version of your game for 13 months while you're working on it. Um, you're,
No,
I
it's
mean,
it's
that
12
just
months.
yeah, 12 months,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But then again, I'm not exactly a game developer, and I know life gets in the way, and a lot of these folks are doing this for the fun of it. So when it comes down to
True.
it, I can understand that. Now, the question is, do developers have the right to contact Steam and say, still working on this, you can remove this tag? If that's the case, and it goes under review or whatever, I would love this. Um, I think it's a worthwhile thing because again, if you're banning it, you're just never going to go back to your Steam page to update it anyway. So this
Mm-hmm.
is great. But there needs to be a means for them to be able to contact if they get that label, and then because I mean that's going to deter everyone. As soon as you see that, you're like,
Right.
yeah, I'm out. Thanks. Have a great day.
Yeah, it doesn't seem based on the wording that they if they were to send Steam something like a note, like a little sticky note or saying, "Hey, to text you, hey, are you up?
Mm-hmm.
Just letting you know we're still working on this. Okay, thanks, love you, bye." That's not going to update their stable game branch for the everybody else that's purchased the early access or gotten involved in the early access to let them know like, hey, they're still working on it. No, they would actually have to release some sort of viable content for that game in order to for that timeline to start back from zero.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if you just like upload it and make one change to it, like you put a period somewhere.
That was my question. Like, what's the absolute easiest change to make? Upload that there. Bought yourself another year before you have to do it again. Sam Disfaction says, "Are we ready for the Steam PC or Steam dongle or whatever it is that they're supposedly working on?"
Dongle.
Dongles. We're always ready for a good dongle.
She's not wrong.
It has to be good. It has to be good.
A good
Prefaced with
dongle.
good. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't.
Well,
Go
I
ahead.
mean, to me, it kind of sounds like this warning system is itself in early access. I
That's a
think
good point.
that just. I mean, hopefully they get a lot of feedback from devs that they should expand their definition of what do they call it? Meaningful development updates
Right.
actually means.
It's a pretty vague term.
Yeah.
I also think that maybe you should have, and this is probably something they already do. Like you should have at least a significant amount of content available for an early access game,
Hmm?
right? Not just something like, oh, here's one level, bam, early access, there you go. And because I mean, a lot of people can bring up different things like Unreal Engine or Game Maker, all that stuff, and just like make one level, bam, here you go. That's one level, early access. Give me money so I can continue working on this stuff. And then you're like, yeah, I don't really feel like it.
The only argument I have for that is that's how Minecraft was made.
Ooh.
Right? The guy just like made it like a couple levels, and like uploaded it, and people were like, "Hey, I would like it if you would do X, Y, and Z." And he went, "Okay, cool." Changed it, upload a new version, uploaded a new version, and just like that's how the game grew,
Yeah.
right? So that's my only argument to that because that's the only game I can think of that went through that route.
But that's like a one in a million type thing,
That's what I'm
right?
Yeah,
getting at. Yeah,
that
that's
is certainly the exception to the rule. If only every one of these early access games could go on to be the next Minecraft, but
Right?
they're not all going to be that.
hmm,
You mean everybody's not going to catch lightning in a bottle?
weird.
Crazy.
I know, right? But yeah, I think even though there's still some kinks to be worked out in this
Ooh.
system, I think more information for buyers is always good.
Yeah, I mean, transparency, education, I completely agree.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, again, I would like, if you're a developer, the ability to just contact Steam and say, hey, still working on it. Just wanted to let you know. And maybe like have them send you a warning, like, hey, your game's about to be kind of almost delisted in a way. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
are you still there? It's the Netflix, right? Like,
Are you still working?
Right, because everybody loves when Netflix pops that up.
yeah, but I mean, 9 times out of 10, yeah, you are. That 1 time out of 10, you're doing the chill with your Netflix, so it doesn't
Yeah.
matter, right?
All right, and last up, banks in Japan are blocking Steam payments for sex games, leaving Japanese adult game devs cut off from their income. Of the roughly 122,000 games on Steam, almost 6,000 are marked as adult only. That's about 1 in 20, and nearly half of those are tagged as hentai games. Despite the surplus of horny anime material available for purchase, Japanese adult game devs are apparently being kept from the profits of their Steam sales. Taro Yamada, a member of the Japanese Diet's House of Counselors, said in a YouTube broadcast that the issue is Japanese law currently doesn't have procedures in place to address the nuances of international Steam sales, which leaves Japanese banks in a position to apply their own restrictions that raise concerns about freedom of speech in media production. These concerns echo ongoing disputes in the US over restrictions on adult content, in which activists and organizers like the ACLU have argued that the vague and ambiguous policy requirements of companies like MasterCard and Visa, alongside growing state efforts to regulate access to pornography, threaten the livelihoods and speech rights of sex workers and adult content creators.
So Japan, the country that overwhelmingly produces most of this content, and I'm sure that money goes back into the economy of Japan, right? Just throwing that out
Yeah,
there.
as Sam Disfaction says, help a Japanese dev buy a horny game. And Frank says, oh, won't somebody please think of the horny devs?
Ryan has helped them out, hasn't he?
Yeah, I was gonna say this story must be of particular interest to you, Ryan.
I do find it funny. I made a joke one time that I had bought an adult game, and this we've gotten so much mileage out of this joke. I love this.
Mhm.
So your Blues Aragorn whiteboard is your porn video game whiteboard.
Exactly. Adults only, particularly hentai games. You're right. Right on the little.
Right.
So, I mean, if we're if we're talking about the fact that they are limiting the ability for payments to go to a company that makes, let's be honest with you, legal content,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
Right. There's nothing illegal about what they're doing, and in fact, uh, Steam is comfortable with it as well. Uh, that's a scary proposition. That they could take away your ability to accept payments because they don't approve on a morality, it sounds like, standpoint about your content. Um, if that's the case, make it illegal. If that's truly how your country feels, then make it illegal. Outside of that, if that's not something that's illegal, then keep your fucking hands off, right?
Mhm.
That to me is such a violation. And so it's pushing your beliefs and morality on someone else. We all have our own concept of that. How we collectively as a society decide what's morally correct and incorrect is that we create laws, ideally, right? And
Mhm.
so if it's not against the law, then how do they have the right to restrict somebody from gathering payment for their hard work?
It's kind of like the same thing that goes on in the United States with individual establishments deciding what's moral and what's not.
Hmm.
And you have, I'm not going to go into anything political, but I've seen numerous instances where an establishment says, I'm not going to serve you because of this, or I'm not going to do this because of this, because
Hmm.
of who you are, what you believe in, and yada yada yada. And you're right, and that's like the easiest way, in my opinion, to start a fight and to really have somebody so built up and so determined to do something about it that they're willing to cause harm to somebody.
Hmm.
Because I can totally see that happening. Somebody is just a hothead. They say, well, that's my money. That's my hard-earned money that I've earned. And now you're blocking this because your company thinks that this is wrong and immoral, and you have no legal ground to. It's just your decision. Well, that's not going to work for me. Grenade, boom.
Well, and the thing to me too is I was thinking about this, like, what's the parallel over here, right? I think one of the things you pointed out too was that, um, yeah, there's people who are limiting the access to a business or service because of uh, what they judge. The other thought I was like, all right, what about like marijuana, right? Because it's like a state rule
Mm-hmm.
versus like a federal
Right.
rule. So like, they've got cannabis stores that can't accept payments
You have to
because
pay
no,
in cash. They're like, we
Right,
don't
right.
have
right.
we don't we can't take your credit card, but there's an ATM around the corner. Just come on back with your cash.
And the reason behind that is because no bank that is FDIC insured can accept money for the purchase of cannabis or cannabis related products.
Yeah, even though these companies have a tax ID number, they have a
Mhm,
business license, they're
mhm.
fully
Yep.
legal places.
So that was like the other analogy that was coming to mind for this is that they're trying to shut these businesses down by putting them in a position that makes it difficult for them to make money and accept money. Because let's be honest with you, that's probably a deterrent for some people. I mean, especially nowadays. Um, I very rarely carry cash, but you're right. Then I have to like go to the ATM
Yeah.
to go
Right.
pick up money. What I find funny though is a lot of those places do have an ATM inside.
That's the racket. That's the racket,
Right.
right? So like a couple years ago when I was doing some of it, like I went to a dispensary that's right up the road, and I go to pay with my debit card. And they're like, "Oh yeah, sorry, you can't do that. We accept cash." I'm like, "But I have my card's right here." Like, well, we can't do it because of this and yada yada. We have an ATM. If you want to go do that, it's like, wait a second. So I've got to take money out. That's going to charge me a surcharge here.
Mm-hmm.
My bank is going to charge me as well. And I
Yep.
was like, "Yep, no thanks." I just left. I left. I went down the street and got like money out of my ATM, and then had to come back. But it's an annoying process.
Yeah. And you want to know what's funny is even the like places that just sell CBD,
Mm-hmm.
like no weed at all, just actual CBD stuff,
Right.
have the same issue.
Yep.
That's stupid.
It is really stupid. And it's also a little bit like how I live in one of the states where I can't go to Pornhub anymore.
Oh, is that right? They've
Yep.
restricted. Yeah, they throw like an age label on, don't they?
No, you can't even do that. Like it's just not offered in my state.
Do you have
It's
to show
completely
some
blocked.
identification or whatever to just
Nope. It's
VPN?
just not offered.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
that.
VPN. Fortunately, there are many places elsewhere on the internet that are not operating as much on the up and up, and so we're gonna be okay. But the first time I tried to log into Pornhub, and I was like, "What the hell is this?"
I'm sorry, you say log in?
Or
She's a reviewer. She likes to put up, like you see that.
right? I mean,
Log in.
how is it going to suggest videos for you if you don't tell it what you like?
You know what? She's
You-
the reason why there's a share button.
You don't
What do you
log
want
in
to
there.
share this to? Like,
Some people share TikTok, some people share Instagram reels. Everybody's got their
Jesus.
thing.
hey Bill, I was doing my thing to this thing. You should do that too.
This one looks like your wife.
Wait, it is.
Uh,
Lucy, you got some explaining to do.
J Dragon says unrelated but related. Change payment or accept alternative because malfunction or power outage, cash, and other places no cash because it might be fishy.
Right. Well, and I will say this: typically when I run into a business that doesn't accept cash, like my first thought is, so what are we laundering?
Right.
Well, they tried
Uh,
to do that whole thing in the pandemic where they cut off cash altogether, and a lot of places are still doing that. And then they'll say, "Oh, well, we're going to charge you a 3.5% fee for using your debit or credit card." Well, no, I think that that's illegal for them to take that fee and charge it back to the customer
I would imagine it's a gray area, but yeah.
because
Um,
they were eating that fee before, and then all of a sudden it just switched. Like if you're paying with debit or credit card, you're now paying a 3.5% fee.
It's that way with my rent. If I don't set it up where it's directly pulling it out of my bank,
Yeah.
right? They charge me a fee on top of that. And if it, like, say for example, if I were to pay with my Amex card, it would be like $60. Yeah,
No,
nuts, right?
I don't want you having access to my checking account. No.
Right,
I'll give you some greenbacks every month. There you go.
right.
So my other thought is whether does this put Steam in a weird legal situation
hmm
because now they've got all this money that's not theirs.
Oh, I'm sure that they're putting it in escrow and gaining money off of the interest.
Right.
That's what Twitch does. When it comes down to it, Bezos is holding on to your money until you get that $50
Yeah.
threshold, right?
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, on the interest alone on that money, bank,
Mhm.
absolute bank, right? Bezos is going up to the to space again, just holding on to your money. But to your point, Steam has to hold on to that for a certain amount of time. I mean, as a developer of adult-themed games,
Mm-hmm.
how do you get around it? If do you
I don't know. I don't think every little indie dev of hentai games can have an offshore account or anything like
right,
that.
right.
So, sorry, go ahead.
PayPal, Zelle, is that something where you would transfer that money from, like an
Venmo?
online bank like Ally or something like that? Or it goes Ally to PayPal to blah, 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 blah. And I'm sure you're going to pay fees along the way, right? Because nobody can hold
Right.
on to your money without charging you a couple bucks.
Right.
So, if that in in that regard, if Pornhub is blocked in your state, what about Steam games that have porn or nudity in there? Are those blocked as well? Or do they even think about those?
I think if it's just listed as adult only is what it seems like, right? That distinction, the X-rated or NC-17 rating on a game, right? If there's some nudity, maybe it's the R equivalent, if you will.
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't tried to buy one. Maybe I'll go buy one for funsie and see if it lets me do it or not.
Gonna buy this for research purposes.
May I suggest?
For science.
Yeah.
Science.
May I suggest Sex Airlines?
I know you've played through that, and
It's hilarious. They're really,
4 out
really,
of
really
10, huh?
well. They're really, really trying to put some story in between the scenes.
That's not what anybody's there for.
Exactly. It's just like, all right, let's speed this up. Started playing this game. I said to myself, I got 30 minutes.
just keep hitting the skip button on the
Right,
dialogue.
right.
Yeah, whatever. All right.
Warning tape.
Let's move on to our top 3 new releases.
All right, first up is Rift of the Necromancer, Switch and PC. The Necromancer's I'm sorry, what? Dancer, Necro Dancer.
I'm your necro dancer.
Rift of the Necro Dancer for Switch and PC. The Necro Dancer is back in an all-new rhythm game. Dragged into a strange new world, Cadence must engage in a musical combat with monsters surging through the rift. Face pulse-pounding rhythm riffs where every beat is a battle. All set to an original soundtrack by Danny Barankowski and friends. Next up is Big Helmet Heroes for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and X, Switch, and
Swish.
PC.
Shrish. Shrisha prishy.
Show yourself in an epic 3D beat 'em up adventure with adorable knights. Man, tongue cannot work today. Full of surprising worlds and situations. Grab your buddy and play in 2-player co-op to save the princess. But this is only the beginning. And last up, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2.
Exactly.
All right. So PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, Switch, and PC. A thrilling story. I'm laughing too much. I'm thinking this dude got a pretty mouth. Uh, thrilling story-driven action RPG with a rich open world set in the 15th century medieval Europe. Experience the ultimate adventure through the eyes of young Henry as you embark on a journey of epic proportions. So, taking a look at these three games, Donnie, what are you in for this week?
Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 with less Burt Reynolds. It just doesn't, I don't know. It seems like a very watered down Game of Thrones. And it's like, doesn't interest me whatsoever. So I'm passing on that one. This one would be between Rift of the Necrodancer, which I don't quite understand exactly the gameplay because I'm looking at it and it seems a little Guitar Hero-ish. But I don't know how that works. Like how do I press, what buttons am I pressing to, yeah, I don't get it.
you're Josh Baskin and
Yeah.
and big. I don't
I
get
don't
it.
get
I think
it.
you're just pushing the arrow keys.
So that doesn't, I don't know. That doesn't seem very, I don't seem, the colors and the characters, they look vibrant and alive, but pressing buttons and not doing anything. Like I get the, what's the bust a move thing, the Dance Revolution. You're actually dancing. Guitar Hero, you're playing a guitar. This one, you're just pressing buttons on a D-pad. That doesn't seem enticing to me. So I think I'm going to skip Rift of the Necro Dancer, which leaves us with Big Helmet Heroes. And this game looks cute and cool, and it's almost like an adventure type platformer-ish game. Whenever I first saw it, it made me think of Astrobot, like that whole kind of design. So I still have yet to play Astrobot, but this one does look cool, and I think I might try this one, but I'm definitely not going to pick it up just yet.
Nice. Blue, what about you?
So, Rift of the Necrodancer, I'm going to be a little more kind to it than Donnie in that it looks great. The music sounds amazing. Rhythm games are not really my thing. So, I think a lot of people will have fun with it. And a lot of people in our Discord were really, really excited about it. But it is not for me. Big Helmet Heroes, it looks fun-ish. It looks like it might be cute, but there just wasn't anything that made me say, "Yeah, I gotta play this." Especially if it's only two-player co-op,
Oh,
which
is
it's
it?
not. I don't know. It says grab your buddy and play in two-player co-op to save the princess. So it doesn't really specify.
I missed that part.
So I'll pass on that one, which leaves me with Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. And honestly, I got to congratulate this game on its trailers. I think this game has put out some of the best, most compelling trailers that I've seen in a long time. And even if I didn't play the first game in this series and really on paper probably wouldn't give it a second thought, the trailers are amazing. So of these three, that's the one that I would go with.
Nice.
What about you, Ryan?
Rhythm game. As soon as I see that, it's a solid no on my part. I have no rhythm.
I have no gate key.
Just watch me dance.
Peggy
You will see.
18.
I have zero rhythm.
I was never meant to be a
It's
warrior.
Big fish, little
Revolution.
fish, cardboard box. That doesn't.
Cadence is always off. It's always like a little bit off, like a little head, a little below. It's not good.
Alright.
I've tried DDR. I've tried the tatami mat game and all that stuff, and yeah, I've given rhythm games a shot. They're just not for me. I am rhythm challenged, and I am personally offended every time a rhythm game comes out. Just gonna feel like it's a personal attack on me. With that being said, Big Helmet Heroes, I agree it looked fun. I'm just not a huge fan of 3D beat 'em ups, just because a lot of times I feel like you get lost in like the space, if you will. Of
Yeah,
it.
the direction.
And-
Yeah.
Right, and so sometimes it's difficult to do. But Donnie, I agree with you. The art style definitely looked a little bit like Astrobot. I just love that their main character is just like a guy with an enormous head. Because as someone with an enormous head, I can appreciate that.
He
It's like a watermelon on a toothpick. Um, but yeah, it's just I've never really been into 3D beat 'em ups. Sign me up if it's a 2D beat 'em up, absolutely. But 3D, I don't think it just transfers that well. Which leaves me with Kingdom Come. Very interested in this game. You're right, Blue. Some of the trailers look pretty dang epic for this one.
Donnie's been making that same stank face for I think 10 minutes.
continue, Ryan. I'll say after.
Okay. So this has definitely piqued my interest. I just don't know if any of the games here are really like, jazzing me up, if you will, for this week. So, all things considered, if had to choose, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 would probably be it, just based off of the trailer alone. But yeah, it's been an interesting week. I think the variety's good. I just it's just not for me.
Yeah.
So Stank Face?
Who are you guys? You're
Who are
calling this
you?
an epic trailer when it looks basic as fuck?
Are you watching the correct trailer?
Yeah, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 official launch trailer. You see a lady poking at a naked guy with a whisk broom. You've got them hunting.
You don't think that's epic?
No. Walking through a market, a town market with beans and beets and stuff like that. Yeah, that's epic. That screams epic. Riding through a countryside with nothing there, an open that's epic. I completely and 100% disagree with you two, and I think this is the first time that I've ever done this. I'm questioning our relationship now because you guys think that this is an epic trailer? Chat, help me out. Everybody, if you're listening to this on Friday, help me out. Am I in the wrong
you're
here?
Gonna drive so many people to watch this trailer. You'll be like, man, we got so many hits on Friday.
This is just no, thank you. No, sorry.
All right.
We watch a lot of crap trailers, man. So the bar is very low for us.
I'm not gonna apologize. I thought it was a good trailer. I thought there was some funny humor and one of those RPGs where you can go and do whatever you want. So
Fine, it's a good trailer, not epic. This does not have an ounce of epicness in it. All right, stank face Ryan. Thank you, Ramboski. Thank you.
all right. Well, agree to disagree time. Here we are. Before we move on, let's take a quick break to talk about our sponsor. This segment is proudly sponsored by A Gamer Looks at 40 podcast. The show explores the history of video games through the stories and experiences of the people who lived it. In part 4 of the Final Fantasy VII series, Bill and his guests discuss how Cloud and Sephiroth may be the ultimate 1-2 punch in the entire Final Fantasy franchise. So this week's question is, what video game is your ultimate nemesis? Let Bill know your answer by sending him a tweet at A Gamer Looks at 40 on Twitter and Blue Sky.
So I assume ultimate nemesis really refers to like a game that just you've tried and it like kicks your butt every time, or you tried and you're just not interested. Like, what would your definition of ultimate nemesis be?
I probably would do the first one personally, but as always, the questions are open for interpretation. There's no rules here.
No rules, just right. Like out
there. No holds barred.
What's a game that I've tried, like legitimately tried to beat and it like broke me? I'm trying to think. Because that hasn't happened in a long time. Not because I haven't beat a game, but because it hasn't broke me. Because I've just been like, screw it.
Right.
There's a million other games out there, so I don't care.
Yeah.
Maybe as a kid, I'll tell you what it was for a long time was Punch-Out. Because I just could not get past Tyson. I got to Tyson many times as a kid. Just that first minute and 30 seconds, just could not get past it. And so I actually didn't know that after that minute and 30 seconds, like if he hits you, you don't go down. Because I never got to that point. So I just assumed that every punch you ever take from Tyson, you go down, um, which would make that even harder than it
Oh
already
yeah,
is, you
yeah.
know? But it just seemed like well, this seems pointless. F it, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. Um, and the other one was Battletoads, man. I still not have, I mean, I've gotten to the rat race level. And that one, it's just so much pattern recognition and speed of you having to go down and then like kick the bomb and then keep going down. Uh, my old eyes and fingers just not equipped for that.
I've watched you stream that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
One
thought
of
it was
John sees it. Yeah, it can't be
a
rat race.
valiant attempt.
Hmm. What about you guys?
I am going to say Hollow Knight
Okay.
because I have been trying to get the Platinum Trophy, which
Ah,
requires you to beat
yes.
the fifth Pantheon. And I have all but two trophies. The last two trophies I will get when I beat the fifth Pantheon and get the Void ending, which will be wrap it up, and then I'll get the Platinum. And I can get like 3/4 of the way through the fifth Pantheon, and I can't do it. It's just it's I know it's possible, but legitimately wonder if it's impossible for me.
Hmm.
I have been trying for years, can't do it.
Which is the interesting part is because you also adore that game so much. So
Yeah.
it's
Yep,
a literal love-hate relationship.
literally.
It's just dangling the fishing pole right in front of you. You almost had it. Oh, you almost had
Gotta be
It's
quicker
so
than that.
close.
it. Yeah.
I mean, I got the 112% completion. I have everything else. It's that last like 1/4 of the fifth Pantheon that I have to beat, and I just can't fucking do
Oh,
it.
it blows. I'm sorry.
I should go back and platinum that game.
Fuck
Is
off.
it like a massive middle finger to blow?
Yes.
I approve this message.
Like, oh, Blue, look what I
Let's see you do it.
You were that kid on the playground, I swear.
got. Mine would have to be. I remember the night that Marble Madness broke me, when we were doing the
Oh,
big
yes.
20, and I was
Mhm.
breezing through the games. I was like, man, this is real okay. I think I've got this. And then I get the Marble Madness, and it just wrecked me. I spent hours on that, and I just got fed up. I think my stream was even having problems, and I said, screw it. I shut it down. And well, then the next day, I was going to do it again, and I was doing it off stream, and I ended up beating it. Like, I was able to complete Marble Madness. And I was like, you son of a bitch. Like, really? You couldn't have just, things couldn't have gone well last night for me to do this
Mhm.
and breeze through the big 20 games. Um, but that one initially comes to mind. The second one is UN Squadron. No matter how many times I play this game, and I see Red Ox play it, I see Mega play it, and they
Mhm.
make it seem so easy when you have the slowdown, especially the slowdown for that game, when there's so many different sprites on the screen and it slows it down, and you're able to dodge the projectiles a little bit better because it's so slow. I cannot get that game to do my bidding. I can't.
And it's not like you're somebody who's not good at 2D, shooters. I've seen you crush Lightning Force.
I love
Uh,
that game.
right. So it's not like you're you're just bad at that genre. It's that
No,
game in particular is just stupid hard.
it is.
And the
Like,
worst part about it is that if you don't choose the right planes in the right order, there's a point in which you can't progress because you can't shoot upwards, and that you have to like hit this one particular boss that's above you,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
uh, which
That's in the
that's like
mine area, right?
right. You soft lock yourself
Yeah.
because you didn't spend money on the right thing.
Yeah. No thanks.
Stupid
That's the
developers.
game that's still, and that's why I kind of still hate that game to this day. I love it. It's a great game. It's very challenging, but I
Mhm.
hate it because it has me down on the floor with its boot on my neck, just laughing at me, and I can't do anything about it.
What's funny is two people have mentioned games that I know that you're fairly decent at: Flashback and Sonic Spinball.
Yeah, I love
and
Sonic Spinball, I'm able to do no problem. I'm able to do that on a deathless run. I did that on stream before.
Mm-hmm.
It's if you get the memorization down on what the level does and everything like that. Obviously, you can't. There's going to be randomness throughout the spinball levels and stuff like that. But as long as you can kind of manipulate the level and get it to do what you need it to do, I found it to be a little bit easy. So people who think UN Squadron is easy, to me, it's just I can't beat it. So the same thing like with Frank, who says Sonic Spinball is bad for him, easy for me. There's probably a game out there that he breezes through that I can't do.
Ghosts and Goblins and Cuphead. Totally understand Ghosts and Goblins.
Yeah,
That's
and
ridiculous.
Cuphead too.
Yeah, Cuphead. You know what though? I feel like Cuphead is fair. It's hard, but it's fair.
Mm-hmm.
There's never a point in which you're playing Cuphead and thinking to yourself, "The game has cheated you." It's you gotta figure out the pattern. You gotta keep going.
Right.
Ghosts and Goblins. I just feel like the controls are jank and the weapons drops are jank, and it tries to trick you. It's like, hey, yeah, you won the first 6 levels. Too bad, got to play it again, buddy. Just to get the right ending. Dumb, absolutely dumb.
Or when the fire weapon soft locks you.
Mm-hmm.
I heard that. And now it's time for the. This is your captain speaking, and this is the very important poll. Every
You
month
have
on.
to come up with one this week.
Are we going to start this cycle again?
I'll do it. If you guys want to, I will make a thing every time for the very important poll. You guys don't even have to do it because we only do this thing like once a month.
Once a month. That is,
Yeah.
to be fair, that is more doable.
To be fair.
The arms race of who can do better and better
Yes,
and better.
It was
and
great.
better.
It was
too much.
great.
It was great, but it was too much.
It was too much. Yes.
It was a wonderful time to be alive. See, yeah, GoldenEye even says the movie parodies were awesome. Every month on Twitter, we post our VIP, which is our very important poll. If you'd like to participate, follow us on Twitter at GamersWeekPC. And this month's question was, what is your favorite defunct 90s retailer? Coming in third place was Circuit City at 9.2%. Right in the middle at 36.7% was good old Blockbuster, and taking the poll at the top spot this week was Toys R Us at 49.2%. Now 4.9% of you said other. So let's take a look at some of the comments from the poll. Sleep is for Tea says Borders for sure. Spent a lot of time there. Helped run their open mic and even had a running tab at the coffee bar. Yo,
Nice.
Give me another espresso. Put them on my tab.
Living the dream.
But low-key Wet Seal in the 2000s was my discount jam, and I voted Toys R Us just because. Wet Seal. What was Wet Seal?
I believe it was a woman's retailer.
Okay.
Yep. All I remember is that I had a girlfriend at the time that liked to shop at Wet Seal, and I would pay for it, and it was expensive.
Wow. I hope you got paid back later.
Right? Need that rebate.
Yeah, I mean, it was we dated for 4 years, so yeah.
Okay.
At C. Gallaty says, Media Play. I think you would have had to have lived at the time to understand the impact this store had when it actually dropped. Was Media Play a 90s?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm going to butcher this name. Atelier Cali says, Blockbuster / movie gallery was a Friday night ritual for us. Didn't have a Toys R Us close enough, so I made it count when I did go to one. Always got a Sailor Moon doll to add to my collection. Nice.
Nice.
Single Play says, going to the Incredible Universe was an event. Virtual reality, live stages wired with broadcasting equipment, and usable demos of everything from computers to stereos to Virtual Boy and the Miracle Piano teaching system on NES. It was incredible. I'd say, where the hell was this place at?
Right.
Pacific Northwest, I believe.
Damn. Never even heard of this place. And Apostolic... Excuse me, hang on. And Apostolic Paladin says, does anyone remember Children's Palace? There used to be one in the Deer Creek area near Maplewood in St. Louis back in the early 90s. Paladin, I remember you. And Children's Palace, I don't specifically remember that. We're from the same area. I do not remember what Children's Palace was, unless I Googled it really quickly. Okay, which I'm going to do right now. Children's Palace. Looks like
Children's Palace, St. Louis.
Yes. Okay, yes. Children's Palace was a toy store back in the I think 70s, 80s, 90s or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
How
it was.
old are you?
Why would you do that?
When 900
Why?
was there.
reach.
Look as good. You're not.
Ohio Boyquan says we had one in Columbus also.
What, Children's Palace? Nice.
Apparently.
Okay. So, Blue, what is your favorite 90s defunct retailer?
So I have never been to a Toys R Us.
Really?
Really. They had one here, but parents never took me.
Too secular?
Wow.
Too expensive.
Gotcha.
There was a Blockbuster, which I worked at. Have terrible memories. Hate Blockbuster. Circuit City means nothing to me.
Right.
You didn't like the big plug that you had to walk through in order to get inside?
As fun as that was. No, my choice was Sam Goody.
Very nice.
If you were looking for overpriced CDs in the 90s in the mall, you snuck off to Sam Goody. And mostly I was just there to browse and listen to demos and never actually buy something. Or if I could buy something, because they were always like 20% more than they were anywhere else you would have gone to buy the CDs. So I rarely bought something, but every once in a while I did. But it was mostly just the vibe of the store and being there and getting to hear the new
Yeah.
music. And you were at the mall, so it was already cool. So damn goody for me.
You were
You know, it's
willing to
funny.
put those bacteria-filled headphones on your ears to listen to the music in the
We've
mall?
already discussed this back then. There were no germs.
You know what was interesting is never lived in an area that had a Sam Goody, but you heard about it all the time from like national advertisements. So I'm always curious as to what it was like to walk into one. So I might pick your brain on that someday and say, tell me
It
more.
elevated your cool kid status by at least 10% just walking through the door.
Yeah. I can concur on that one.
Nice.
Ryan, what about you? What's your favorite defunct 90s retailer?
So I really struggled with this one because there's quite a few that come
yeah.
to mind, right? Like the ones that come to mind was like there was a Toys R Us equivalent where I grew up called Kitty City that was only really in the Northeast, right? And instead of having a giraffe, they had a kangaroo. Yes. It was like, if you think about it, like the direct ripoff of it.
Right.
So like BJ's and Sam Club. It's like pick one, whichever one you want to go to. They're pretty much the same. But Kitty City, I still, because Toys R Us existed, because it's gone, I didn't really care at that time. And actually, Kitty City went out long before Toys R Us did. So
Kitty City sounds like a strip club. I'm just going to say it.
Yeah, it does.
I know Donnie's thinking it, but I'm going to say it.
But it's spelled Kiddie.
Yeah.
Instead
Of course,
Kitty,
yeah.
right?
I'm sure it is, but just that's not where my brain went at first.
So that also brings up like Fry's, which I found out recently went out of business. Which Fry's is like, if you're a nerd and you needed anything, even remotely electronic, Fry's had it. And I'm talking even if you were rebuilding like an Atari 800 and you needed components for it, they had that stuff in there. Yeah, it was nuts. Absolutely nuts. And that went out of business. But my experience with Fry's really only started in Vegas when I moved there because there was still one that was open. So that leads me to the one that I went to as a kid. It was its own store, right? It wasn't something where you like went to the mall to go check this out. Like this was like a huge plex, and it actually replaced a Caldor, if memory serves me right. So good old Caldor Retail Center, which was like a crappy Walmart,
Oh,
if
never
you
even heard
will.
of it.
Yeah. But it was enormous, and it was a the this C. Gallaty said media play. That place was like, take a Books a Million and FYE and an electronics superstore, so like a Circuit City, right? Throw them all together in one space, and that's media play. So it was all out there:
Hmm.
books, CDs, video games, electronics, stereo equipment if you wanted it. Like, it was all there. So you would walk into it, and it was a bit overwhelming. But I remember doing the thing where you would just go to the CD section and listen to a bunch of new albums that came out, never buy a damn thing. you know? I remember
Pro
going
strat.
there specifically to get Mad Catz video game controllers
Yeah.
because I was young and couldn't afford the good stuff. Like, there's so many things that Media Play had, and it felt like it was only around for 3 years before it was gone. But um, I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that there was just so much stuff there. And I don't know how you turn the margins around having that much floor space, having to pay for that many employees, and expecting to make a profit on it. I just think it was just too much. So,
Hmm.
Hmm.
but loved Media Play. Absolutely loved it.
Okay.
Donaldo.
Where do you start, man?
I know, right?
I mean, so many of these places just held so much magic when you walked into them. Blockbuster on a Friday night, the smell of the popcorn, the commerce. I love the smell of commerce in the morning. You know, all the different getting to see if you're the movie or the video game that you wanted to rent was there.
Mhm.
Walking into a Best Buy back in the '90s and seeing all the video games and CDs and stuff like that. The Toys R Us, walking straight to the video game section or the action figure section. There are a lot to mention here, and I could probably sit here and talk to you for hours about each one and their experience, their personal experience. Mine, for me, as far as like a defunct retailer, it's not really a specific one, but it's what the malls used to be.
Yeah.
The malls used to
Mm-hmm.
be so amazing for me. Even my own hometown mall, which was in Illinois, it was a very small mall compared to the other ones that were in the area, but
Mm-hmm.
it had an arcade. It had a famous bar, which is now Macy's. It had an electronics boutique. It had two toy stores. It had a shoe store. It had clothing stores. It had Spencer's Gifts. It had Walden Books and B. Dalton
Spencer's.
booksellers. So it had everything. It had a cornucopia of stuff. You wanted to look at clothes? Go to the store to look at clothes. You wanted to grab a slice of pizza from Sbarro? Go do that. And walk down to the arcade where you could look at, girls on the way and stuff like that. You could go into the shoe store and try on shoes. You could go see what this action figure or what that Super Nintendo game is going to cost. There was so much to do with the mall, and there are only two malls in my area now. They're still pretty big. They have a lot of retailers, but it doesn't quite hold the same amount of magic because there's not the same things to do. For me, as an adult, I want to get in there, do my shopping, and get the hell out. Right? There's no arcade there to keep me entertained for hours and hours on end, or to take my money that my mom gave to me for lunch. Hey, here's your $20. Here's your lunch for next week at school, and I'd spend it almost immediately in the arcade that night as soon as she dropped me off at the mall. So I'd have to hit her up for another $20 on Sunday and say, "Hey, mom, yeah, I accidentally, whatever." But
I accident my finger slipped.
exactly. So for me, it was the overall experience of the big mall where they had all the stores with everything right there at your convenience, and you got to experience it all.
You know what? Recently, when I was home in upstate New York, I went to the mall, the one that I grew up with that was packed, always packed when I was in
Yeah.
my teenage years, and you would
Mm-hmm.
go there, and it was a destination to hang out, more or less. So you would meet people there, you would hang out, you would grab food together, you would shop, even though most of the time you never bought anything because you couldn't afford it because you didn't have any money. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, Going back there, it is such a shell of itself. There's so
Right?
many retail spaces that are empty. And
Mm-hmm.
in fact, there was one that was just a town over that was actually pretty popular uh, that doesn't exist anymore. There are no retail spaces in it. It is literally a dead mall with a parking lot that people just use to like do donuts in the winter,
Mm,
um, which is sad, really sad.
yeah.
I always thought to myself like that would be an awesome like paintball arena,
Yep.
so, like make it into a mall or whatever. Um,
Paintball or laser tag, another relic
exactly
of the 90s.
right. And at the end of the day, um, that's the. I mean, we're talking about retail stores,
Hmm.
right? That's going the way of the dodo. Nobody cares. Nobody wants to leave their house, and because it is so darn convenient, and it's gotten over that stigma that like, well, I want to try it on first. That's slowly going away, right? Because seemingly Amazon is getting it right more often than not. So when you buy something off there, it's like it's like it's all right. I don't feel like returning it, so
Yeah, that's where they get you.
right.
Right.
So I'll just accept it the way it is. Uh, so, so I mean, it sucks because there was something that felt magical about walking into a store, and I don't know how many times I would walk into a Hot Topic and see a T-shirt that was on that wall of T-shirts
Hmm.
that they had, and going,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to save up money to get that T-shirt because I definitely want it. You know, only to come
Yeah.
back and it was sold out or not my size. But nonetheless, it's there's just something missing in that, and it just felt so depressing to go into the mall today.
That it does.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Well, on that sad note, let's wrap up the episode.
Do we have to?
We can sit here and reminisce about malls some more if you guys want, but
Yeah, let's go.
I don't want to have to edit it all out. So,
Oh, okay.
I think you could just stop from here and just delete the whole thing.
right. Thank you all for listening to episode 151 of Gamers Week podcast. And a big thank you to the Retro Game Club podcast, Love Retro BTW, A Gamer Looks at 40 podcast, and Pixel Pawn Production Company for sponsoring this episode. Don't forget to check out their links in the show notes. If you want to connect with Gamers Week, follow us on Twitter and Blue Sky at Gamers Week PC. Watch us right here on Twitch at twitch.tv/Gamers Week podcast, where we will record live every Wednesday at 8:30 Central Time. Email us at gamersweekpodcast@gmail.com. Visit our merch store at gamers-week-podcast.creator-spring.com, or if you want to do it the easy way, follow the link in the show notes. And last but not least, join us on Patreon at patreon.com/gamersweek. Finally, since you made it all the way to the end of this episode, please leave us a rating and a review to let us know how we did. We really do value your feedback. And while you're there, consider subscribing on iTunes, Spotify, or your podcast platform of choice.
And we hope you feel better, Puzzle.
Yeah, puzzle. I'm just now getting over my sickness. Um, Blue, how are you feeling?
Okay, tired
Yeah.
this year, totally plugged.
Huh?
And I'm fine because I avoid people.
So do I, but here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, tune in next week to find out what embarrassing cosplay Donnie will be streaming as.
Yeah. So you guys in the chat, you didn't hear it, but we have a bet for the Super Bowl going on this Sunday. Blue is picking the Philadelphia Eagles. I am picking the Kansas City Chiefs. And if I win, then she has to do a live stream in a humiliating cosplay of my choice. If I win, if the Chiefs win, then I'm sorry, if the Eagles win, then I have to do a cosplay stream um, in a humiliating costume of her choice. So,
Yep.
yay!
I've never been more happy that the Bills lost.
I haven't decided what I'm going to have Donnie do, but I think it's definitely going to involve nipple tassels.
Don't know if I could do that.
You can totally do nipple tassels, and in fact, we could probably have them like overnighted to you from Amazon. Speaking of
Yeah.
which,
I'll pick them myself and send them to you.
yeah.
Pink Cherry
Oh,
has
God.
real cheap shipping.
She knows. She knows all about it. Adam and Eve doesn't do nipple tassels, though, right?
They probably do.
Yeah. Well, the only reason I was asking is because I was hoping that he was going to get like some of those, like free porn for a month coupons because honestly, it's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, could I do
so-
like body paint?
So you're telling me that on a weekday, you want to get body paint on you? You want to come home from work, paint up, right?
Just on the nipples.
Play a game for an hour, 1 hour, and then fucking go wash yourself off? More power to you, bud.
What's wrong
More
with
power.
that?
Hey, I get to choose. So if I choose body paint, then he does body paint.
Like two little pumpkins and just make them dance like during the stream. Because I could do that.
I look like a man-o'-lantern.
And Frank says nipple tassels shaped like fish biting them.
Oh, perfect.
No.
Those
Yes,
might be
well
hard to
done,
find,
Frank.
but I'll
Well
see what
done.
I can do.
All right. So, by the way, too, guys, if you are interested in playing some Contra, and we do have a GWP High Score event going on starting on Saturday. So, definitely check out our hashtag GWP High Score for more information.
Yeah, definitely check that out. We'd love to see you guys compete.
Yes. All right. So, why don't
So-
we go ahead and raid Pixelpon?
Yeah, we can do that. I will start the raid here. They're actually playing some, looks like Kirby, Kirby something right now, but they're also doing some Contra practice for the Gamers Week podcast Contra thing. So go ahead and check them out, guys. We're going to send you on over to them. You guys, Kirby's Dream Course, as Mega Retro Man has said. They're playing some of that, and also you will see some Contra practice and an overall great stream from those guys. So take care, have a good night, and show them some love. We'll see you back next week. Hopefully with less body paint. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.